everybody, in today's video I'm going to be showing you this really cute little Venus flytrap that opens up, and the little secret inside the Venus flytrap is what it's having for lunch or dinner or whatever meal this may be, which is a human finger. You could switch up what you stick inside the flytrap if you wanted to. You could put in, a bug to go like strictly normal, or you could put in any kind of like an eyeball would be really gross and cool in there. There's just so many possibilities. A little skull would be fun. You can really think outside the box. I hope you like this one, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
So I'm going to begin with an overlay of a glittery black acrylic. I also just want to mention, if you are trying to brainstorm on different ideas to put inside the flytrap, another thing that I think would be more funny than ghoulish would be like a slice of pizza, or, just some other food item that's more of a people food item, and really personify this flytrap a little bit farther and make it a bit more, humanish, like it's, having an ice cream cone for a snack. So back to our little design here. This glittery black acrylic that I have is a mix that I mixed my own, but it's just a really gorgeous black with a few different types of glitter. It's subtle, but it just makes a nice Halloween but a little more glamorous background. And I feel like, because besides the fact that there's a finger inside this flytrap, it's not overly Halloweenish, it's a plant, this background color did kind of push the Halloween look a little more. I am now going to encapsulate with a layer of clear acrylic. Anytime you're using a glitter mix or a mix with glitter, always encapsulate it. It'll make sure that the glitter stays nice and sparkly after you file the nail into shape. It's just really the best thing to protect the glitter. So even if you have a clear overlay underneath and you're using this as just the color of your nail, on top, still encapsulate it, because I know that's a different way to do it. If you're using the clear strictly for strength, is to put it in like a layer underneath and then apply your color acrylic on top. I've seen people do that as well, especially if it's a nail that's sculpted. But for glitter, you really want to make sure that it does have a layer on top of it as a little file guard. Now I'm going to file this nail into shape with my e-file, and then I'm going to smooth it out with some acetone and apply a layer of gel sealer or gel top coat on top. And then that glitter, you can really see it. So now, using a heart mold that I made a while back, and I can include the video that I made this mold in if you're curious on how I did make the mold, I am going to sculpt each side of my flytrap for its mouth, or its top. I don't know. The mouth. The mouth. We're going with the mouth. And I'm going to just do the one side, and let's think of it as like a half a taco. And then after I have the one side of my flytrap sculpted, I'm going to leave it in this mold until it is completely cured. It's crunchy. It's not going to be, flexible at all. It's not going to be sticky. And then make a second one. I'm going to bend a little piece of wire into a U shape by wrapping it around a dotting tool, cut off the extra so that it's not super long, and string a bead onto the U shape so that the bead sits right in the curved part on the bottom. Hold this new hinge you just created up to your flytrap, and I'm going to just hold it on one side, and you can pick a side, it doesn't matter which piece of the flytrap that you made. And I'm just going to hold it. It's a little awkward because you're working with something so tiny, and I am wearing gloves, so I'm just going to go right ahead and I'm just going to tack it down with clear acrylic before I move. So I'm holding with my finger. I am also going to mention that even though it's hard to tell in the video, I really wasn't touching wet acrylic, but I do have gloves on just in case anyway. I'm going to cover up the ends of that wire with some green acrylic, and now taking the other side of my flytrap, I'm going to hold it up to the hinge to see where it sets. Wherever it kind of hit that bead, you're going to carve a little notch out of that piece with your e-file so that it rests on top of the bead nicely and it doesn't get kind of like stuck. It doesn't have to open quite as far. It makes it so that it all sits together a little bit better. Attach this part of the flytrap to the bead. Don't get any acrylic on your wire, just the bead. So one side is attached to the wire, the other side is attached to the bead. If you are interested in a video that is live in person, well, not in person, but live real speed, that is all about hinges, I did do a live class a while back just dedicated to hinge making, and it really goes through all of the information that you may need, some of the tips and tricks that I kind of think of as I'm making them. So that is a great video to watch if this is a technique you have never done before, or you've struggled with in the past and you just want to see what kind of information I might be able to share with you. I'm going to paint a piece of wire with white gel paint, and then I'm going to cut it into little tiny bits. This is going to be for my teeth of my flytrap. Normally a Venus flytrap, the teeth portion of it isn't white, they're green, just like the rest of the color of the plant. However, we are making this a little bit Halloweenish, and I really wanted them to show off and really be seen, so I did make them white. However, you can do this however you'd like, and whatever level of realism you want to give it. I'm going to tack them down on one side of the flytrap with some kind of a mauve tone acrylics, just placing each tooth. I'm going to put 5 on each side. As I am doing this, I am shifting it so that they're not quite centered. So like the middle one isn't exactly in the middle, it's a little bit off to one side. And then kind of go on and so forth. So you can see that last one I just put in isn't all the way to the edge. It's got a little bit of a gap. Fill in the rest of that area inside your Flytrap with more of this mauve or mouth toned acrylic. I kind of tried to find one that I thought looked like the inside of somebody's mouth, kind of that like pinky peachy color. So fill that in just so that the Flytrap has a nice mouth color. And then on the other side, you're going to offset the teeth so that they fit either side. So instead of starting it to the whatever side you did the first time, you're going to do it the opposite way. So just look at across and try to eyeball it to see where you can interlock them. It might not be perfect, and if it doesn't fit together totally all the way when you're done, it's not really that big of a deal. But if you can try to get it so that they do interlock instead of hitting each other, that'll make your Flytrap close better later on. After you have your other 5 teeth attached on that side, you're going to repeat the process of filling in the center. As you are filling in the center and adding these details, again, just be aware that you do not want to get any acrylic on the hinge where it doesn't belong so that your Flytrap can't open. And periodically, just check to make sure that the hinge is working as scheduled and it will open and close easily. I'm going to lightly buff the surface of that gel sealer on the nail so that I have something good for that acrylic to stick to. Using clear acrylic, I'm going to attach my Flytrap onto the nail. As I am just sitting here holding it, the acrylic should start to grip pretty easily and should solidify so that you can let go. If you did not buff the surface of the nail first and you just were doing this right on top of a glossy top coat, it would not hold very well at all, and you'd be sitting there for a long time just waiting for it to cure. On a nail form backing, I'm going to sculpt the leaves of my Flytrap. Here's the first one, just kind of, again, I'm not measuring anything. I'm at the point where I can pretty easily just see how things are going to fit, and I don't feel the need to measure. If you do feel the need to measure, you can go ahead and do that and, set the nail down next to it to make sure it's the right length. But as you can see, without doing that is pretty accurate. So this first piece I made is kind of like the center. It's where your Flytrap is attached to the rest of the mother plant. And I'm just going to go through and take it all the way down. And then I'm going to add the next leaves on the sides. On a regular Venus Flytrap, it seems like all the pictures I saw, they had a mouth on the end of each of these leaf stalks. And if you wanted to go that route, you certainly could, just for the simplicity of the design and trying to keep it a little bit more visually pleasing in this setting. I am not going to stick with realism there, and plus, it's eating a finger, so we already kind of left the realism train. But we're going to kind of steer away from realism in this particular aspect and not put a mouth on the end or a trap on the end of each of these stalks. Like I said, though, if you do want to go strictly realism, you certainly could. I wouldn't make each one of them have a mouth that opens, just because that is a lot of work. I would make them stationary, the ones on the sides, but this is totally up to you and however you want to do it. I personally think this, with just the leaves coming up on the sides, is just what this nail needed. So to me, this is the route that I took. I've got one leaf on the left and one on the right. Make them a little differing in size, not make them exactly the same length. Switch them up a little bit. After I have them both in place, I'm going to take more of my darker green acrylic and just smooth them out, because they both had like a little dip in the middle from just the way that the acrylic was pressed out on the nail form backing. I'm just going to kind of finish that off, bring them all the way down to the tip of the nail if they are not already that length. I'm going to add a bit more acrylic to the top of the front of my trap, just because it did look a little bit dull from being inside that mold. Now, on a nail form backing, I'm going to sculpt my finger, or whatever it is that you want your trap to be eating. If you wanted to, you could have been sculpting these items all the way along so that you could just pop them right in the mouth when you're at this point. But if you are uncertain of what size you're going to have available inside the trap and you want to make sure that it fits, wait until everything is fully assembled and then sculpt the items that the trap is eating so that you are more confident that you can sculpt them to be the right size. After I have my finger sculpted on one side, I'm going to let that cure, then flip it over, and I'm going to sculpt the other side to round it out so that my finger looks like it's a finger shape from all angles, and then when I pop it into the mouth, it looks like it's eating a finger. I'm going to carve in a little fingernail shape with the very tip of my 3D brush, and I'm also going to take, and to make it a little bit more, we're making it bloody and gross, I'm going to take some red acrylic and I'm going to add that to the cut end of the finger on the opposite side from the nail. So this is where it has been detached from the hand of whatever person this finger came from. I have that little bit of red, and then take some white and plop that right down in the center for where the finger bone would be. I'm going to open up the trap, and then I'm going to use some clear acrylic to stick it in. First, I'm just going to make sure the finger fits, so I'm going to hold it in there. Then after I have my clear acrylic in, I'm going to pick up the finger and set it in fingernail facing up so that you can see it. Otherwise, there would have been no point in sculpting it to begin with. With some acrylic paint, I'm going to do the final detailing on my fly trap, which really probably isn't very much. I'm going to take a brighter shade of green than what I used for the acrylic for sculpting everything, and I'm going to brighten up the edges of the leaves, just make them look a little bit more intense, a little bit more distinct from each other. Also take that green, I'm going to brighten up the edge of the fly trap right along where those teeth are placed. And then after I have that kind of blended out and smooth, I'm also going to take and very carefully add a little skinny line of the brighter shade of green on the other side of the mouth underneath. It is hard to kind of get to it, but as long as you can, add that little tiny line. That'll make it stand out from the background of the nail a little bit better since it is dark. Making that a bit brighter will just make it seem more vivid. On the finger inside the mouth, and if you wanted to do this before it was inside the mouth, that might be easier for you. I like the fact that once it's in the mouth, it's not going to move on me. It's stationary. I'm going to add the rest of the detailing to my finger. A couple little brown lines for shading on the knuckles and around that fingernail, a little bit of brightness on the end of the fingernail, and then the last thing I'm going to do here is apply some matte top coat that is not gel to the fly trap and to the finger. And that's it! I absolutely love this one. Like I said, there are so many moments for creative decisions here, especially with what this fly trap is going to be eating. So that's just, it's fun to be able to have that opportunity to think outside the box. I hope you like it as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to my future videos as well.